This next comic is an aging lesbian empty nester. Please put your hands together for Mary Huth.
Okay, yes. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out and risking your lives for comedy. Oh, look what I didn't do. Sorry, no glove, no love. It's funny because my son is actually here. One of my sons is actually here tonight, and he's right there. And I was planning to do an entire set about dildos, and so now I'm gonna have to go in another direction. You know, I don't want to have to pay for therapy. Anyway, and I can't believe you were raised by two moms. Like my son was raised by two moms too. You guys should do a podcast, man. Yeah. Like Becca was saying, I don't know if you guys remember, but like roughly 6 years ago, they legalized gay marriage in the United States, which is fantastic. You know, there were some conservatives that had concerns, however, you know, like, oh my God, if we let their gays get married, they're gonna marry their golden retrievers. Or they're gonna marry their Instapat. Or maybe their air fryer, I don't know. But you know, as a lesbian, I might be able to admit they maybe had a couple of points. Because there are electronic devices that I have been in a long-term relationship with. Let me just put it this way, Harry Potter did not invent the magic wand, okay? That's a dildo and a vibrator joke for anybody who is keeping track. You know, the other thing is I have been going to a lot of human dog weddings. Like a lot of humans are marrying dogs. I don't know if you've heard about this. Next weekend I'm going, my ex is marrying this bitch. My ex from college. You know, she's mixed breed. She's half Shiba Inu and half Schnauzer. You know, which is not unlike me. I'm half Japanese and half German. So apparently my ex has a type. Her name is Queenie. Queenie's actually very nice. She told me they're registered at Petco and Williams-Sonoma, of course. And she told me she's really looking forward to the honeymoon because she's going to be in heat. That's a groaner. That's what you call a groaner. I'm happy with it. My partner, Susan, and I have been together for 28 years. You can believe somebody put up with this for 28 years. It's like, I can't believe I threaded that needle, but somehow I did. You know, it's like weird because she is like the nicest person you've ever met. I mean, like Bobby has met her and Ruth has met her and Tadashi's very familiar with her. And she does not have a mean bone in her body, which is really crazy because I am entirely made up of mean bones. Like from there to there, it's all mean bone scaffolding, you know? And I think it was pretty clear from the get-go, though, because when we first started dating, our first trip away, you know, your first romantic trip, very exciting. We went to San Francisco because we're basic lesbians. For those of you who are straight, which I'm really having a hard time believing anybody's here, but San Francisco is like the LGBT Vegas. So you hop in the car and you go. So we went to San Francisco and it was cold and rainy and we're in Chinatown. And I am, as I mentioned, I'm Asian, you know, Japanese, German, and Swedish. And let me just put it this way. Susan is all cream, no coffee, you know what I mean? She's just very Anglo, you know, she's very white. And so we are in Chinatown, and so we go into this like Chinese noodle house filled with Chinese people, so you know it's gonna be good. And she ordered like dumpling soup, and I ordered something else. And very quickly I began to notice that Susan was earnestly trying to get food in her mouth with chopsticks, but was not being very successful, you know? But she was trying really hard, you know, and like the bok choy is flung across the table, and the dumplings are sliding out of the chopsticks, and, you know, splashing back in the soup, and so, you know, finally I just took like pity on her, and I called the waitress over and I said, oh, hey, listen, you know what? Whitey needs a fork. That is a 100% true story. A joke I didn't have to write, which is just really, really sad. So we've been together forever, and what happens is you get these pets. We have an ancient cat named Chimney, and I believe Chimney got her AARP card last week in the mail. And you know, she has just decided, like all of a sudden, she's not going to use the cat box anymore to go number 2. So basically, our house is the most horrifying Easter egg hunt. You know, we have to clean up after her, and all of the Easter eggs are brown. And when you get up in the morning, it's like the floor is lava, because you have to like seriously watch where you're stepping. And the only way to clean up after her is to follow the scent. And it is just horrifying. It's like a combination of 2 different things. It's like, you know, poop, which is not surprising. And then the second thing that I sense, that I just know, it's like a soupçon, you know, just a dash of I fucking dare you to put me to sleep, you know? Because she knows we're not gonna put her, not gonna put her to sleep for that, you know? So Susan and I are blessed with 19-year-old twin boys. Yes. And, you know, so now I am a lesbian empty nester. And prior to that, I was a lesbian soccer mom. And prior to that, I was happy. Here we go. You know, and I gotta tell you, it was just chaos from the moment that they were conceived. You know, it was like an MMA cage match pregnancy. You know, we had Thanos and Conor McGregor, and they just went after each other from the minute they were on the planet. And, you know, it didn't get any better when they came out and started breathing air. Like, for example, my son Kenji, he figured out how to climb out of the crib at 10 months, which is freaking bananas, because kids don't usually learn how to walk until they're like 12 months, right, a year old. And I did things to try and fix it, you know, like I put Vaseline in all of the slats of his crib, but that didn't fucking work, you know? And I gotta tell you, it was a little disorienting too, you know? I would put the baby down and then turn around and then look down the hall, and he'd be crawling after me like the girl from The Ring, you know? Like Samara from The Ring. And I'd be like, fuck, I just put that thing away, you know? And, you know, and it was at this point in motherhood that I realized the design flaw in cribs. And what a crib lacks is a fucking lid, you know? Like some kind of heavy steel locking device, like preferably with a key fob, you know, and you could just go, mommy's off for many petty sweeties. Probably come home at some point, you know? So like the other thing with these boys is like we learned very quickly that we had to tire them out in order to have peace in our household. So we did that by enrolling them in sports from the time that they were very young. But I had one caveat, and the caveat was no contact sports, because football is dangerous, you know. So you can anticipate where I'm going with this, right? Like literally a couple of years later, they're like, Mama, we really want to play football, please, please, please. You know, and I would just look at their little faces and say, you know, I love you too, I want to make you happy, but I know you, and neither one of you can afford to spare any brain cells whatsoever. So football is a hard pass, sorry. And then one day, the coach that was trying to recruit them, because I have a couple of bruisers on my hands, so you should understand that. So anyway, he said, Mary, let me just explain something to you. football is an acceptable format in which your children may assault other people's children instead of each other. And I, was like horrified at this prospect for about 3 seconds. And then I could not sign the liability release form fucking fast enough, And I gotta tell you, it worked out great. Turns out, it's exhausting assaulting other people's children. They tend to run away, and then another true story, we found one kid under the bleachers, like crying, because he did not want to play football. That is not going to be Rob Gronkowski at any point in the future. And it worked out amazing. By the time we got home, sooner than you could say, traumatic brain injury, they were asleep. And I was a happy lady, what can I tell you? I don't know how you guys have done with your families over the holidays. The holidays are just over. I managed to navigate, and avoid a lot of the more controversial dinner table topics. Things like Big Bird's vaccination status, or Nancy Pelosi. That's how they always say it on Fox. Nancy Pelosi. Or Mr. Potato Head's pronouns. Those are things people all were upset about. Except for, the one topic that I think is the most controversial topic of our time, and that is Pete Davidson. Now, I am a lesbian, as I mentioned. I have natural Pete Davidson immunity. All the antibodies all up in here. And you straight gals better watch out, because I'm pretty sure Pete Davidson is a variant. There's no fucking booster for Pete Davidson, the other thing is I am not one of those cool athletic lesbians, like Megan Rapinoe and I do not have a lot in common. But I do enjoy exercising outside, I like to go to the reservoir, the Hollywood Reservoir, and some of you may be familiar with it. It's like a 3.5 mile flat loop. Great place for making fun of people, let me tell you. It is chef's kiss. And my favorite thing is when you see somebody who is completely overdressed for the situation. And, I don't want to make a stereotype, but it's usually a wealthy older fella, and he looks like he's wearing the entire Bass Pro Shop, to walk a 3.5 mile loop, He has the alpine walking sticks, and the flat, the hat with the safari hat with the flaps in the back, and, you're like, where are you going? Kilimanjaro? This is, this is off a Gower, where you don't need all of that shit, I am really grateful for this studio and for, you guys coming out here. I mean, this is so beautiful here, and it's such a great, safe space that Bobby and Chris have created. So, I myself am a bit of a unicorn in that I am a Los Angeles resident who is a comic who does not have a podcast. It seems like the city just gives you a podcast when you move here, Or it's funny, you'll take a comedy class and they'll do something like teach you the rule of threes, and then they'll be like, would you like to do a podcast on serial killers who are Capricorns? Or serial killers who are water signs? Did you know Jeffrey Dahmer was a Pisces? And I thought about it, there was a lot of pressure, and I just thought, I am way too busy, binging 90 Day Fiancé, and I am really busy with my Rachel Maddow fan fiction. So I couldn't possibly do a podcast on top of that. I did make a lot of jokes about my children tonight, which I'm sorry, Tadashi. My kids are like heroin. I mean, I would rather spend time with my children than with anybody else. It's really weird how they don't feel the same way. It's like a mystery and an enigma. But, you know, at any rate, this is kind of hard to talk about, but they're 19 now. And in spite of all of my deeply, deeply held hopes and dreams, I've come to accept that they are straight. So hard, so many brunches. I took them to so many fucking brunches. I have no idea. But listen, I want all of you people to know, heterosexuality, not a choice, okay? Who the fuck would choose that? Not me. You know, but it's like they tell you in preschool, you get what you get, and you don't get upset. So I love my straight children. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.